And then a turning point happened when my wife and I were coming back from LA. She got a call from her cousin, John, who had said his friend Jeff was in the hospital. And she goes, Jeff's about to get his foot amputated. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's complicated for diabetes or whatever. And all I kept thinking was, what year are we in and what country are we in? Like where you lose a foot to diabetes that should be preventable. And this is what changed me. She looks over to me. She goes, you could have helped him.
Good to go. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paradise Pump. And today we have a special guest, Alim Shabazz.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Hodge.
What's going on, brother?
Man, it's good to be here.
So Alim, he owns Big Tire Fitness and Forefathers Fitness. Yeah. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about, how you got started and all this fitness stuff, man?
Yeah, well, right now with Big Tire Boot Camp and Forefathers Fitness, it was a kind of a secondary journey. It wasn't something I woke up and said, hey, this is something we want to do. Okay. But kind of how I got started overall in fitness, I think it kind of goes back to my dad, when he was in the Navy, and he was actually a bodybuilder. So he was 6'6", about 260. He was actually a submariner too, so that was kind of uncommon. But yeah, all I remember is when he would come home from like a Westpac, there would be these big canisters of like the Weeders. So Weeder back then was pretty much the only supplement, if you remember. They're like in the cardboard canisters. And Gross. So it was like either vanilla or chocolate. It wasn't all the stuff we had today. So all I always remember when you come through the door is when you don't see somebody for that long, he was just this massive presence. And he was like a superhero. And I was a little kid and I was like, I want to be like that guy. People respected him. He was a big dude. He had muscles. He wasn't afraid to show it, but he was a kind individual too. Right. And so all I remember him is he'd make this milkshake and he'd call it his potion. And I'd say, Dad, what is that? He's like, it's my potion. And he'd mix it up in his blender. You put that in there, you put in some fruit or whatever, and you just drink it. And he probably was drinking it regular, but the way I remember it, his hair was like blowing, and there was like a ray of sunshine coming down.
Like an '80s commercial.
Yeah, it's like '80s, like who's that guy? Like Fabio, like
Bob, yes.
And so that was a memory I had. And then he would always take me to the gym. Most of the gyms we'd go on base or somewhere, and so there was always like that community of folks who were just trying to better themselves. And so that's what I remember as far as fitness growing up, and just him always wanting to lift weights and better himself. But funny enough, I was a skinny, small, scrawny kid.
Okay. So, when did you actually really get serious about lifting? How old were you?
So, got serious about lifting probably 1995. So this is in Riverside, California. Okay. And I was actually in school at the time. And I would go over to March Air Force Base to the gym. And there was a couple of guys there who were probably like 3-4 years older than I was. And they just took me under my wing and were like, hey, I'd show up there. They'd be working out. They'd throw me in the mix. Be like, hey, we're doing chest today. So I'm like working out with these older dudes because no one at our school was really lifting at the time. They are lifting seriously. We were lifting probably for injury. They were just, no one knew what they were doing. But these guys kind of knew what they were doing. So I remember that's when I got serious about it.
You worked out on March Air Force Base?
Say again?
You worked out on March Air Force Base?
I did, yeah, because I was going to UC Riverside at the time, and it was just a close gym.
That's funny because I was in the Air Force also. I mean, I told you I was Coast Guard, but I was in the Air Force from 90 to 94. Okay. And I was stationed out at Vandenberg Air Force Base up the coast. And we would go every year. I used to drive, the vehicles, trucks, buses, and we would go every year for the March Air Force Base air show. Okay. And we go down there. So around 92, 93, I would go down there and I worked out in that gym.
Okay. So those are metal. Those are all metal weights.
It was a smaller gym. I remember it.
Super small. There was all metal weights. So you hear the clanging, which I kind of miss. You hear a lot today. It's the clanging of weights and stuff. That's awesome. Racking them and everything. But March Air Force Base. So we probably were transitioning, or you were like 94. I'm picking it up like 95, 96. Yep. Hot Riverside. So
it was hot
during the summer.
It was hot. Yeah. Summertime was during when they had that show.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so when you got into it, did you notice pretty quickly like you were getting results? Could you see your body, or was it a slow progression for you?
Because I didn't have a goal. So I was lifting, but I wasn't really changing anything else. So I was getting into weights seriously, and I was lifting, But I wasn't really seeing a whole lot of difference. Plus, at that age, you're so young
Mhm.
that the stuff you're doing, you don't know if it's really making a difference. You're
Okay.
just you're kind of lucky, with a lot of stuff. Probably wasn't as consistent as I needed to be. And so probably for the next 3 or 4 years, I just enjoyed working out,
Okay.
but I wasn't like seeing like difference. Like if you looked at me probably in a 3 year or 4 year span, you wouldn't be like, oh, that guy's really been hitting the gym. You
I
just be
see.
like, oh, he's not fat, but he's kind of in shape.
Mhm.
Really what changed it was after so we were in California, we moved to Hawaii, my wife and I, well,
When did you move here?
we moved here in 2003, I believe. Yeah, 2003.
Okay.
Yeah. And at the time, my wife and I were dating. Now we're married. But this is the thing that really got me into fitness and secured my place was you're out of school, you're out of athletics, and you're out of like formal training, right? Meaning someone's making you do it, or there's a reason for you to do it.
Right.
So now you're left to your own vices, and the world happens. So it's like you got a little money in your pocket, got a wife to come home to, you're not missing any meals, getting a little bit like, hey, this is not too bad. And I just remember one time I was eating, we were over in Kaneohe at the time, and we were going to L&L. So we're eating these plate lunches. And it was like, it was new to me. So I was like, oh man, it's funny. It's like, you get these Calbee ribs, they give you a scoop of rice, they give you a scoop of macaroni. It's just so good. And so what we're doing, just walking up the hill, getting our little plate lunch or whatever. And I remember she came in the office one time, and I was just sitting there and I had my shirt off. And she didn't say anything, but she gave me this look. It was just this look that she didn't have to say anything. And in that look, I read like, I didn't sign up for this.
She's seen something.
Seen something, right?
Yeah,
so I saw that in her eye too.
So
next day, I'm actually in Pearl City area and I'm walking by. I don't think the store there's anymore, but there was if you remember, there was a health and wellness store over in Pearl City across from like Zippy's. It was in that really crazy building like City Plaza or something. It was at the ground level. There was like an Asian guy who owned it. It was like, but this is like maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, wait. Well, I don't know if that was heavy metal or I don't know.
It wasn't like a hardcore bodybuilding.
It was like
small, a more
like Vim and Vigorous Man. I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm walking by and in the window I see bodybuilding show. That's all I saw.
Okay.
Never bodybuild. Don't know what it was. If you said what's a pose, I would have no, zero clue. Wow. Zero clue. Never didn't even. I mean, I read bodybuilding books and stuff growing up, but didn't know about bodybuilding or how to bodybuild. And I wasn't training like a bodybuilder yet.
Okay.
So long story boring. I looked at that. I walked inside. I was like, hey, can I get a flyer? And so we didn't have one. So I wrote everything down. I called my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm going to enter a bodybuilding show. And of course, she's like, come home.
Yeah. Like, what do you
get off the street?
Yeah, of course.
And so I go into 24-hour. This is when 24-hour fitness was over by Pearl Ridge or whatnot.
Is that where you were training at?
I was training. No. So we were still in Kaneohe at the time.
Training at Kaneohe.
Yeah, we were in Kaneohe. But I went to 24 Pearl because I was asking people who should I go to learn about bodybuilding? Okay. And everyone kept saying Ray Ronculio. So I was tracking him down. So I go to the one in Pearl Ridge. They were like, he's here. And come to find out, I guess he was the district manager of 24 at the time. Yeah. So I had to go track him down in Kapiolani. I walk in his office and I'm like, excuse me, sir. My name's Alim. I'd like to bodybuild. I'd like for you to train me. I heard you're the guy that I need to see. And so he goes, oh, sure. Yeah, you got plenty of time. What show you want to do? Mind you, this is like June. And I wanted to do the November show. So in his head, he's thinking next year. And I'm like, okay. So I'm 5 weeks out. No, that's not. No. I'm sorry. 5 weeks out, not 5 months. I was 5 weeks out from the Paradise Cup in 2003.
Oh, so you were talking to him 5 weeks out.
5 weeks out.
I want to do this show.
I go in to see Ray.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're crazy. Nobody who's never bodybuilt starts and competes in 5 weeks. It's not going to happen. He's like, lift up your shirt. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. I was like, look, I need to do this. I've already sent to my app. Whatever you tell me to do, I will do. And so he was like, sure. Like basically like
whatever, dude. If you want to pay,
go for it, bro.
You give me your money, I'll train you. Yeah.
Whatever. And so he's like, well, this is what you got to do. You got to go see Renee Paz. You got to get some posing trunks. And I'm like, why can't I just wear the stuff off this? He's like, look, just trust me. You just don't want to go buy some Speedos. He says, you're going to learn. You need to go tan. And I'm thinking, I'm black. Why do I have to go tan? I said, no, you got to tan. You're going to, on top of that, you're going to put on some stuff called Dream Tan. And he's like, I'm going to tell you you're going to be working out. You're going to be eating. You're going to be dieting. And then you need to find a posing coach. He's like, I can help you with your overall process, but I don't have the ability to help you pose. So I talked him into helping me pose. And I would meet him at the gym and he'd help me pose or whatnot. So fast forward, and I entered novice. for bodybuilding. Because at the time there was no physique.
Yeah.
So I'm 6'2". At the time, I think I was on stage at 223. So you're looking kind of lean. You're looking like a light physique competitor.
Yeah.
So nothing fantastic, but there were like 3 people in my class, so I won.
Okay.
Right. Yes. But it was a it got me hooked. Right. Because
that sucked you in.
Yeah. And I really delivered on what I told him. I said, like, I didn't cheat. I didn't like cut any corners or anything. And what happened with that was, as you know, you take your body to a level that you've never seen before. Then on top of that, you're around people who are like-minded, who you're like, wow, like it's, you don't see that type of physique on the street, but in that community, you see it everywhere and they normalize it. So you realize that, okay, this is a thing, right? And so that was really it. That was the bite that got me, was the 2003 Paradise Cup bodybuilding. And from that point forward, after that show, I was like, like we all say, well, I'm never going to compete again. And then, the bug comes back a little bit later and then keeps going.
Well, because you did, how many bodybuilding shows did you actually compete in?
Bodybuilding, yeah. Before physique?
Yeah.
Maybe 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I remember you did.
Yeah, all local though. Never at the national level.
Okay.
Yeah, not till physique. So all local with the bodybuilding shows. And you kind of get a little bit lucky in Hawaii because there's not a lot of really tall guys.
Yeah.
But some of these guys were stacked at like 5'7", 5'8", they look massive, right?
Yeah.
So you go to the mainland, it's another story, but they get you on the width and the girth and all that good stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you did, I remember, you and I did a show in 2011.
What was that one?
Ikaika. That was the men's physique.
Yeah.
And that was the first time they had men's physique here in Hawaii.
So. The actual first physique show though? It wasn't an NPC sanction.
What was it?
It was John Ligsley at the Blaisdell.
Oh, he did the first. You know what? I think I remember that actually.
Yeah, it was in the hibiscus room.
Yeah. He had board shorts.
So he was smart. So he was some people kind of don't give him a lot of credit. He's kind of quirky, but he's a smart dude when it comes to promotions.
He's watching this.
Yeah.
So,
the first time I met him, we were at Hickam. Yeah. He was doing like the armed forces show, and like drove a car off the state. No,
that was Paradise.
Yeah, he like rode a car. And was like, the other
one,
he was at the armed forces show, and like he drug a flag on the stage, and everybody was like, "Take the flag off!"
I know, John.
But so at that one, he was like, "Hey, I'm doing a physique show. I know you guys are competing in the NPC one, but I'm doing one at this event. Would you guys like to compete?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." It's kind of running up to it or whatever. So apparently I was the only guy who he talked to before the show, and there were like 4 other competitors that they literally just asked out of the audience.
Oh, because nobody knew about it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy, but that was it. Technically, John Ligsley.
That was like the first one on the island
show in Hawaii. So
yeah, no, that's pretty. Yeah, John's done, but I actually did one of John's shows. 20 I think it was like 2011 or 12. Later in the year, I ended up winning it. He got like a dog. I won like this.
Like a real dog?
Yeah, it was a purebred bully.
Remember like something like
dog.
that.
Purebred bully dog. Yeah, they were like, here in the backstage, like, here's your dog. And I was like,
okay.
And I live in a condo, and I was like, I can't even have this dog. What am I supposed to do with this dog? So there was a guy there, one of the guys that was working the show. He was like, I'll buy the dog. Like, he really wanted a dog. And I was like, sure, So I was like, buy the dog, because that dog was pretty I mean, I think I sold that dog for a couple of like $3,000, something like that. Yeah.
So it's kind of like you won prize money.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
You actually, what's funny about that is you're amateur at the time, right?
Oh yeah.
You probably won more money than a pro did getting 5th place at the IBB
one of the pro shows. I know, which was just sad, but John, that was actually fun. So that's pretty cool, man. Because I remember when we did that, the men's physique, and a lot of guys didn't know what was going on.
I don't think we knew what was going on. Well, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, well, I remember just kind of throwing in like a little bit of bodybuilding flair in there.
You had the best posing routine. Because all I always remember was your smile was like no matter what.
Yeah.
And you're so depleted that, for me, I'm like, how is this guy smiling non-stop through everything?
It's trained.
What do you know? Do I not know?
You train yourself and you're like, like that.
Yeah, you're just going through it, and you're like, so you got depleted, and you're just like, what is going on? And I just remember you were doing your thing, And I was like, oh wow, maybe I should do a little more pizzazz or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it was like, don't strike a pose, show your strengths,
Yes.
minimize your weakness, and don't act a little less casual. I remember the big thing at the time was act like you're a fit dude coming off the
Yes,
beach. That's
that
what
was they were trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think I remember going up there and doing it. And then it was funny because I think I walked out there and I did a little spin and I did the pose, the men's physique pose kind of stood there.
Yeah.
And then I remember some of the other guys were like, oh, like we got to do something, And then I think a bunch of you guys were like, well, I'm going to try and do something too. Everyone was just kind of like, let me do a move.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. It kind of made the show a little bit better,
And made it fun, right?
Yeah, because we were like, what is nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So
even the rules were a little like hazy at that time as far as what the judges were looking for. Because most of the judges still had bodybuilding eyes. Everybody there was like,
oh, totally.
What are we looking for? Or how do I,
Yeah, and you ended up winning that, which was good. I mean, you looked really good. So
I don't remember that, but I don't remember I won that, but I do remember the show. And I remember the group of folks there. The one thing I always remember about the bodybuilding community in Hawaii is how just, I don't know, supportive everybody is of each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's competitors, but at the same time, like even the show I went to with Hodge when it was the Sean Ray Classic, and I hadn't been in a while.
Yeah.
It was just like, you just pick up where you left off. And at that point, the common denominator is, I don't care what you've done outside or whatever, you've come here today to try something that is individualized, but you can respect and appreciate the other person, like for what you've gone through. It's almost like when you talk to somebody and you're like, hey, have you done a bodybuilding show? And they say, yeah, it's kind of just like you're in this fraternity. Like,
right.
Even if you compete in the same era, because you kind of like, damn, I kind of knew what you went through.
You kind of suffer. Like like, hey man, you suffered.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been living on Hawaii all these years now, right?
Yeah.
And when did you start your two different, you have the boot camp and you have the fitness, the Forefathers Fitness.
Yeah.
Well, when did you start that and what is the difference between those two?
Good question. So Forefathers Fitness actually started first, and my thought there was to help fathers over 40. So we literally was forefathers, there's supposed to be forefathers over 40. Okay. And the genesis from that was a friend of ours named Jeff, who got his foot amputated from complications to diabetes. He was 50. So up until, I'd say about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, fitness was just something that was personal to me. Like I loved it, I lived it, but I didn't go evangelizing people. Like the people would ask for help, I'd help them, but I wasn't like, I'm going to make this a business or I'm going to train or whatever. I just loved everything about it. Like talking about it, like I like geeking out on weights. I could talk about a machine. Like I just liked it. It brought me joy.
You're into it.
Yeah. But it wasn't something that I was ever interested in like doing as a business.
Okay.
And then a turning point happened when my wife and I were coming back from LA. She got a call from her cousin, John, who had said his friend Jeff was in the hospital. And she goes, Jeff's about to get his foot amputated. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's complicated for diabetes or whatever. And all I kept thinking was, what year are we in and what country are we in? Like where you lose a foot to diabetes that should be preventable. And this is what changed me. She looks over to me. She goes, you could have helped him. And I don't even know. I mean, I know the guy, but I was like a little bit of ego creeps in, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? And what she meant by that was, look, at some point you can only collect so much knowledge and you can only take in so much, and how fit can you get? But you need to, at some point, to grow, serve others. And you're always telling me the things that people should do to help prevent diabetes and what they can do. And she was basically telling me like, look, your message could have meant something to this guy. I don't know, right? I don't know the full story.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have meant something to him. Some people don't want to listen. Maybe he would have still had his foot amputated.
Yeah.
So I went home and I looked up how many people. No, I went on Fiverr and I hired this doctor from overseas. And I said, do like a white paper for me and just tell me what's the prevalence of people getting a limb amputated electively because of diabetes.
Okay.
So he actually did the workup. He sent it to me. It was like $15 or whatever. And I was surprised. So what do you think that number was? It's in the US, like annually, how many people have to get a limb or something cut off because their diabetes gets out of control, but could have been prevented, not like a car crash or something. What do you think?
How much do I think?
Like just
probably more than I'd like to admit.
Yeah. It's in the hundreds of thousands.
It's in the hundreds. I wasn't even thinking that.
I didn't think so either. I was thinking it was like 100 or 200 people maybe, because they sound pretty dramatic.
I thought maybe 5,000 or something. Yeah,
it's like 250,000. So 250,000 out of our population of 300 million annually lose a limb that could have been prevented. And I'm just thinking like 50 is not too old these days. And to lose a foot.
Is it Is it happening to a lot of people that are, what's the age range typically? Is it in that 40s and
That's a good
50s
question.
range?
I don't remember the age range, but I do remember there was a significant disproportion with minorities. So like Hispanics and blacks had like this huge, like
They
you
were
got
the
like
ones.
Caucasian and
Okay.
Asian, and then you still got like African Americans and Hispanics, right?
Mm.
Just blows up.
Why do you think?
Hmm?
Why do you think?
I think diet and I
Community,
think
culture.
access to just information. I
Okay.
think that's a lot of it to do culturally too.
Culture, I was gonna say, yeah, it's probably community culture and
Yeah.
just
And I think
yeah.
diabetes, unfortunately, it's one of those diseases. It's not like a headache or something, or you break or pain where you could be living with it, or hypertension or high cholesterol. And unless you have an event, you don't necessarily feel bad. You might feel a little sleepy or have ups and downs, but it's not like you wake up and you're like, man, my diabetes sure is jacking me up. Versus
Yeah.
like your knee, or you need a pain med, or I have a headache. And so I think they're just like, well, if I don't feel it, it must not be doing anything. And then it's too late.
Because there's a lot of people that from diabetes, they end up getting kidney disease.
And that's what happened to him.
Yeah, that's typically because they don't keep that in check.
Yeah.
And like you said, because a lot of times they don't feel it, they don't notice it. It's happening, but they're like, I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah, they're on dialysis.
And then they got to go to, then the kidney. And then now they're, once you go on dialysis, I mean,
they're rarely going back, even if you get a transplant.
Not good. Yeah. You're kind of the clock's ticking.
Yeah. So that's kind of that was my aha moment. So then I was thinking, all right, my first approach was, well, I started a Facebook page called Stop Diabetic Amputation or Foot Diet. It was some long, crazy thing. Stop Diabetic Foot Amputation.
Okay.
Zero traction, like nothing, like crickets. Because what I failed to realize is the house was already burnt down at that point, right? If we're having a conversation like you're about to get your foot cut off, we've missed the whole game. Like
so you gotta go step back.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I was still focusing here, and I didn't realize we were trying to really prevent this. I need to go like step one before this is even in the equation. Because at that point, they're not even thinking about, you're so far gone. You're just like,
survival mode. Man.
Yeah, survival mode. And that's a different mindset. So that didn't work. And then I was like, all right, well, let me talk to a few guys. So I started talking to a couple of my friends, and you're 20 years old and then you're not. So we're all over 40. And I had two buddies who'd already died. One was like suicide. One was like something that was left unanswered, kind of iffy. And you see your friends around you, just, whack-a-mole, just stupid stuff happening that you're just like, dang, we're not immortal. And these are guys I knew and I respected. And there's stuff that's happening. So I just started polling. I was like, what's your biggest struggle? Like, what's going on? And a lot of it was, I know I was in shape when I was younger. I can't reclaim it. I'm trying to get rid of my gut. Some of them were trying to have kids, and just the normal stuff that I'm sure you guys hear too, I don't have the level of energy I had anymore. And when I tried to get back in shape, I was doing it like I was 20 and I either got hurt or I didn't get the results I had. And you're just not adapting to the fact that we're not 20 anymore. So that's why I focused on forefathers fitness. So initially it was trying to really just be forefathers over 40. And actually it was for Christians. And then what happened was it kind of evolved because men don't really take care of themselves as good as their wives would take care of them. And so we get women calling to say, hey, my husband needs help. But then the wife would want to do the journey with him. So I didn't want to be like, well, no.
Yeah, because men don't usually call.
Terrible.
Yeah, they don't.
They'll be literally burning to the like.
Oh no, totally.
Like, I'm good.
I'm good.
Bro, there's an arrow through your head.
Yeah.
I'm just
we're good.
just put a Band-Aid on it.
Be all right,
I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
That's so true.
On it. Yeah. So
that's so true.
Yeah, but the women, they'll be obviously. So I learned, like you probably have experienced, where the women will take a more proactive approach to trying to help not just themselves but their husband too.
Yeah.
They'll reach out, and of course, once the wife is on the case and she's like, "We're going to do this," then the husband does the 180. So now it's more encompassing. We're more mostly couples 50 and over, but there's some men, some women. Most of the folks I'm training aren't trying to do like bodybuilding and stuff. They're just trying to reclaim
their health.
They've gotten off course, or they were in shape for a while.
Okay.
And they're just trying to play with their grandkids, walk their daughter down the aisle, So it's a little bit different style of training that I do in the way of
how you get them
the
in
customers
shape
and stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Big Tire Boot Camp.
Yeah.
That was a branch off.
That was so one of the things I volunteer at is a center called West Oahu Veteran Center. It's our veteran center out in Eva Beach.
Oh yeah.
And I'm one of the post commanders. So there's 7 posts. We all have responsibility for different things. One of the posts does the memorial at Arizona. Mine is post number 7, Barbers Point. So I have the memorial for the Naval Air Station Barbers Point. In fact, you'll appreciate this for those who served from Naval Air Station from 1942 to 1999.
Okay.
And at one point, because you were at Barbers Point, at one point during Midway, that was the busiest airport in the world when Midway was coming out. More people flew through there. And apparently they had the best chow hall.
I didn't know that.
In the whole world.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, that's what everyone who served there
the chow was good when I was there, but I was 06, 07.
There was like a place they said, this is back in like 50, 60.
Yeah, back in the day.
They were like, you can go get a burger and a shake for free if you're on the flight line, like at 2 a.m. It was the best.
Oh, that's great.
And but one of the things the Commander Lazarus had said, well, look, we need to develop a program for the veterans here. And so he's like, can you do that? It's like, sure. What are you thinking about? Just develop a program. So my thought was talking to folks, what's your hesitation to, again, I'm polling people. I'm just talking to some veterans who not doing a whole lot. What's your hesitation? Well, I don't like going to the gym, or I don't want to go to a gym, or I don't know what to do, or I don't want to be by myself, and so I was like, okay, well, if we do it outdoors, what does that sound? What does that look like? It's probably going to be a boot camp style, because not really conducive to have a bunch of equipment, right? And then that kind of brings you back to a lot of them like that structure and kind of that little bit non-traditional kind of working out things like that. So all it started was literally just an outdoor boot camp for a couple of guys. That was it.
That was how you started.
That was it. And this is right on the tail end of COVID. So COVID was winding down, but we were still touch and go. And so I think that was another reason too we did outdoors, because it was still where this thing was
a weird rule.
It was weird. Like you can be indoors and then you can, and then there was social distancing. That was just
that was a lame time.
That was the devil's touch. That is definitely some. Anyway, no time for another.
That's a whole different.
That's
podcast,
a whole another podcast. But we won't digress. But
that's interesting.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's pretty cool, man. And so, where were you doing it at though? Like you said, outdoors. Where was it?
Yeah, it was at West Oahu Veteran Center.
It was over there.
Yeah, right so it's still there now. But we just started in a small little paved area, and it was just people would come out and work out, and a couple guys wanted to work out in the morning, and then fast forward, people were still a little gun shy to be in closed doors, and so once again proves if you marry right, it can change your life. My wife was like, why don't you open this to the community? It was like, she was like, is there any reason you can't open this up to the community? And I was like, no. I was like, why? She was like, well, maybe families want to come out. There were some teachers that wanted to come and work out too. And I was like, sure, well, let's see if folks want to do that. And we just clarified and said, hey, it's open to anybody now. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be just anyone. Anyone want to work out, come on out. Cool. And the response was pretty good. And it just kind of grew from there. So we just started with not any intention in formalizing it. We're just like, hey, we just want to provide a space for people who want to work out, and give you guys some good instructions, put together a program. We don't have to think about it, keep it safe, and get the heart rate up. And then things started to splinter off from that have now grown into where we are today. And it's continuing to evolve different than what I ever intended. So if you would have said, who do you think would have showed up at the boot camp? I would have been, it's a bunch of knuckle draggers like Mark and Hodge and a bunch of like gorillas. We're just going to go out there and just throwing stuff around. Now we've got like everything. I'm saying not like we're the bad news bears, but we've got old, young, we've got able, we've got disabled. We've got when you look at the landscape, it's not very typical. Like, and so I would have never have pegged a lot of people who stay with the program and commit to it the way they do. And that's shame on me for being ignorant and thinking that fitness had a face, and it doesn't, as you know. You just never know. You just never know who's going to show up and what it's going to mean to them.
Like how long are the workouts normally?
They're always 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a high intensity interval training, and we keep it super simple where you can walk off the street. So basically, it's 10 stations. We mark it out with cones, and it's spread out over 1 acre. So you have a lot of room to kind of spread out. And so we change the workout weekly. So we have a new workout on Saturday, and then that goes for the rest of the days of the week.
Yeah.
And it's normally your full 7 planes of motion. So you'll work all 7 planes. You're doing strength training, cardio, and functional fitness, because we got a lot of folks who are over 60. So we want to do things like muscle memory for stepping, so you don't trip and fall.
Okay.
You want to do things that replicate the life movements that you've got going on.
Yeah. No, that's
and
good.
but they're always 30 minutes. So you work out for 2 minutes, so 120 seconds, and then you have a 60-second break in between your stations.
I see.
And during that time, we recommend an audible where you'll normally run a lap, which is maybe about 1/8 of a mile. So it's not very far, but you just
That's your rest period is like a light jog.
light jog. Yeah. So you're probably keeping the heart rate about 120 up 130-ish.
Okay.
But you put out as much as you want. So it's as many reps as possible. So the reason we can have someone who is like a level 1 working out with a level 10 is they might just do 1 push-up or 2 push-ups or 3 push-ups, right? And then someone else can do 20 or 30 and literally be right next to that person. And so
and it works.
And it works. So yeah.
Super cool, man. For yourself though, like what do you do to stay in shape still? Like are you doing a boot camp still? I mean, or you do your own workouts separately?
I do the boot camp and I do my other workouts too. So now I do what's called shenanigans. So I did bodybuilding and physique competing, and then I kind of just, it is what it is, and then it's not anymore. And then I really got heavy into obstacle course racing with a couple of guys, friends of mine, and we would travel all around and do a bunch of like Spartans and all these other ones.
Oh, that stuff?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. So we were into that for pretty heavy for a while. And then that just kind of got old. And then I got into just like challenging myself. Like it stopped being about like this goal, or I want to win this medal, or I want to run this race. It was just like, all right, what can I do internally to push myself as hard as I can? So I started attempting like just internal challenges. So I would try to go to do like 30,000 pull-ups, or over a certain
crazy
time.
like stuff like that.
Yeah, like crazy stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's some like David Goggins stuff.
Somewhat.
Like,
yeah.
Like you kind of
So I'll
watch what he does a little bit.
I do. Yeah.
And you kind of believe in what he's doing a little bit, or what?
I think the mindset's good. I still
It's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But...
I don't take that from him to say this is what I'm going to do, but I do think it is you versus you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just think we have to get there. So, and then for me, I started to do like Guinness World Records and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, which by the way, anyone can apply. It's free.
Right.
And I believe every single person can get a Guinness World Record. Because think about it. You could create your own.
Oh, you can make up one.
Yeah. You could say, I'm going to do the longest podcast in a gym lifting a dumbbell. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like curls while I'm doing a podcast for
Whatever.
15 hours, right? Whatever. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
And then you win.
It doesn't matter.
But it's not even.
Yeah. There's some high standards, right? There's some standard stuff out there or whatever.
Course.
But
have you gotten one?
I've had 2. Yeah. So I had most dumbbells. This is 2021. Did a Kapolei gym. So it's most weight lifted in 1 minute. And then I also have the world's heaviest weighted pull-up. Both have been broken since, by the way, and I will show you. Yeah.
Wait, what is the most weight lifted?
Mine was 1,500 pounds. So what you have, here's the rules. You have 1 minute to curl single-handedly the weight of your choice. And at the end of the 1 minute, they'll multiply the number of reps times the poundage, and that's yours. So I was training with a 30-pound dumbbell.
Okay.
So the rules were you can only curl the 30-pound dumbbell or a dumbbell in one hand at one time. And you had to be coached. So it's pretty like you had to film it from 2 angles. One was regular speed, one was slow-mo. You had to have 2 letters of attestation or whatever that verify it. It has to be in a public setting. So I got the manager at 24 Hour Fitness, Jason, to grant me approval. And then you have to have 2 trainers who are certified trainers to watch your reps. So I had Siri and I had Sai. They're trainers at 24. Watch me. So they're literally it's a spectacle.
They're watching you.
Yeah, it has to be very conspicuous.
You
can't not short and choppy.
It's a certain range, right?
It's a full rep. So full extension.
So they want full extension.
Full extension, yeah. Full extension, or they'll call you no rep. So it's full extension down, 180, up curl, full extension down.
30 pound.
30 pound.
So how many times do you do it?
50, 25, and 25. So they multiply that by the set, which was 1,500 pounds. So that's the number
in 1 minute.
Yeah. So my goal was 1,200. I was going to do 40, but I got to, so when I was training, I got 40 reps with the 30-pound dumbbell. And it doesn't matter. You can do either arm, or you can do all one arm. My strategy was to do 20 per arm. So I was doing 20, but you can't switch hands. You literally have to do the curl, set it down, clear, grab it, pick it up.
Also, that's part.
So you're going to lose.
So you're losing.
You really have to plan how you're going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So during training, the most I got was 40. So I was thinking, okay, 1,200. That's, and the goal at the record at the time was like 1,100 pounds. So I got to 40 in training, but then when I did it in for the actual attempt, I had 50 seconds left and I was already at 40. Because you know what happened? My parents were there, my mom was there, adrenaline.
So you got hyped.
When I'm training, it's like by myself.
Yeah.
But now I'm there, people are watching, so you're like, amped up a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, it was like 10 seconds up. I had the 40 reps and I already got the record.
Yeah.
And I was just, and for a split second, I was like, what do I do? And then a split second, the same time, I was like, just keep going.
Just keep
So
going.
I just did 5 more, and then I did 5 more, and then it ended up to be 25 and 25. And that was the 15.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then the heaviest weighted pull-up, same gym, it's a pull-up. And at the time it was 226 pounds. So the way I do it is so I weigh 240, 250, depends on the day. So they don't care if you weigh 100 pounds. They won't care if you're 300.
Yeah.
You have to do a full pull up. So it's bar, fully extension, pull, chin has to clear, release. Just one time.
Okay.
Heaviest weighted. And so mine was with the belt and the dumbbells, because I didn't want anything above my shoulder to compress my spine. And so that's all I was training.
So you just had all dumbbells.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. That's plates.
Plates. Oh,
yeah.
plates. Okay.
So you have to weigh the plates beforehand. You have to do the rep, then you have to weigh it beforehand. You have to be continuous, so it's not like edited or any funny business or whatever. And I had that for, I don't know, maybe I didn't check when
that's
it
pretty
got
heavy.
broken, but it got.
226.
And the guys who are crushing it now, they're like, they're always like, it seems like they're either in China or Russia these days. They're like nothing else to do. This one guy, he's like in a gym, he's just destroying
What's it now, like 300?
No, it's not over 2, which I applied again to break it. And I'm going to do this one, even if my arms fall off. I think I'm going to do it at 240. And I figured.
You think you'll get it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I can pull 200 right now for reps. So I figured if I just, you have to age too, where you don't want to do anything stupid and arm rips off. And I'm like, what the hell was that? Because there's no upside. I mean, there's it's just like,
I mean, that's probably the highest risk injury would be tearing a bicep on the pull-up. So
yeah, but it gives me something where I can train to challenge myself. Or because you were asking, well, what do you kind of do now? So it's really just challenges. So I'm like,
keeps you motivated.
Keeps you motivated. I enjoy it. I don't really share it with everybody. It's just something I do to to try to challenge myself with.
That's pretty cool, man. I didn't even know that. Guinness Book of World Record holder right here.
Like you could do something for the gym where it was kind of like I don't know, most people doing a shoulder press or like
stuff like that.
Yeah, like get all your members like, hey, let's
everyone line up.
We're gonna all get a dumbbell. We're gonna do the most group to do, just.
And then China will do like a million people.
A billion people. Like
we're a million Chinese. I know. This is what's saying. We're like, I am Hawaiian. We beat them. Chinese people gonna win.
Yeah, there's no. They're all like in Tiananmen Square.
We'll hold the record for like a week. That's it.
Hey, but you own it for a week.
I know. We can take a picture. That's it. It was in the book. Because I seen the Guinness book. They have before. I don't know if they have it anymore, but they would have the book.
Yeah.
You could purchase the book. It's like this.
That's why. That's what happened. So my son was into Guinness World Records. My oldest son.
Okay.
And he was into Guinness World Records. That's why we did this. And he asked me one day. He goes, "Dad, how do you get a Guinness World Record?" So trying to be a good dad, I was like, well, let's look that up. And when we looked it up, it wasn't like super crazy. And he was like, do you think you could ever have he goes, do you think I could ever have a record? And of course, as a dad, you want to say yes. So then I'm like, all right, well, let me see if there's one I could reasonably try. And I kept looking it up. And I was like, all right, let me try this. So that's actually what happened is he was always into that. And I was like, let me do this. So he'll see me at least try it and go it. And then if nothing more, then hopefully it'll inspire him to want to whatever.
Yeah, man. So wait, how old's your son now?
Oh gosh, it's trippy. Tomorrow he's going to be 17.
Oh wow, he's into working out a lot.
He is now.
Okay,
yeah, he's a big kid. He's 6'4", 265.
Oh yeah,
so he's a pretty good sized kid. But he just got into working out. Like we've been working out since he's younger, but like this year, his senior year, he's really starting to take to the weights and. Learning and really becoming a student of how to lift and being consistent. And actually going to sleep and trying to do the things outside of the gym that support the gym life.
Do the lifestyle.
So I encourage them to, but I don't force them. I just want them to learn it on their own. And
that's actually.
What are your thoughts on that? What do you think is a good age for kids to start the gym life?
Me personally, I mean, like I started when I was like 13, 14. I was really young.
And
I didn't do anything crazy. I mean, we just some basic stuff, but because there is a theory about like if you start too young, you go too heavy, certain movements like deadlifts or squats, you can stunt your growth as far as your height. Like there is I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think there is some there is some truth to that. But honestly, I think kids probably around there, like I think they could probably start lifting when they're 14, I would say.
Yeah.
And I would go light. I mean, obviously, and probably not go too crazy with some of the heavy barbell move, like heavy squats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I was doing some heavy squats. By the time I was like 16, I mean, I had gone pretty heavy on squats, So I feel like I could have been at least 6 feet tall, but I'm only 5'10", so I always felt like I could have been 6 feet, man. Those squats, I was like, but hey, I was squatting like 400 pounds, 500 pounds, and I was like, hey, I was good, so I was happy with that. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Maybe.
That's a really good height though for competing though. 5'10" is like a
5'10" is a great for like bodybuilding is a great height. It is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Some of the best guys were right around the 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
So it actually worked out. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good age though. Right around 14, 15, start lifting, but choose certain exercises and just be aware of how heavy they're gonna go,
Yeah.
I
think any alternative to the alternative of not doing something or being on screen time is I would never discourage anyone to try it, at least.
I just think exercise for kids, like even just moving around, hey, go do some push-ups, let's go do some exercise, or taking up like me, like been doing jujitsu for a while, like hey, getting out on the mats, doing some jujitsu, something where you're burning that energy, you're getting the heart rate up.
That's a great workout, by the way.
Yeah, that's an
amazing workout.
Yeah. But and like everything, you can get hurt, right? Anything you can get injured in anything.
Yeah. But if you can get injured staying at home watching Netflix and get a cramp eating Doritos,
you could. So. You could get injured on the couch for 8 hours, and then you get up and you blow your back.
Yeah.
Because you were sitting on the couch for too long.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy what happens. But yeah, I mean, that's why I think nowadays, especially, there's a lot of bad posture with younger kids because, like you said, they're doing this a lot.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of them. They're kind of very enclosed,
Yeah.
Instead of like just bring the shoulders out, kind of.
Or you're in front of the screen a lot too.
They're on their head. A lot of them are doing this. I noticed their neck. They walk. They're kind of heads tilted down.
Yeah.
Instead of like straight. It's interesting to see that.
It is. Yeah. I mean, even now, you and I growing up, it was like. You were outside a lot, riding bikes, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Street lights come on, come home, whatever. But I was looking at the bikes now, like they didn't have to pedal. Like the e-bikes.
Well, that's the thing right now. They have the e-bikes.
At least work for it. Like at least part of playing was, if I'm going to go here, I'm going to have to hump a little bit. Now you're like cruising. I'm like,
you don't even have to.
You've taken the play out of play. There's like.
I know, it's interesting. I don't know, man. It's kind of like, it's cool. Like, wow, the e-bike seems pretty cool. But then on the other side, I'm like, man, you guys aren't even pedaling now. Like that was the fun thing. You would race your friends, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about now. I mean, you can tune up these bikes and they can go fast. Like, okay, that's like a car or whatever. No, like, let's see who's faster. Like,
it's gonna go full circle. You're gonna get back to basics. So what you do, so kudos for what you do and being in the game for so long. In my, winter is coming. There's a lot of things we can get into this later, but the fitness now more than ever, I think, is needed. And for like professionals like yourself who actually are committed to the process, is the foundation, I think, of so much that what society needs for at so many different levels and getting back to basics. And
I think so.
One of the, I'd say my best therapist ever was a 45-pound plate because it's the truest thing ever in my life. Didn't matter what was happening. There's no empathy, doesn't care. You're black or white.
Metal,
that ugly
plate.
Piece of metal that's 45 pounds just looks at you. It's not happy for you. Isn't mad at you. Doesn't argue with you. Doesn't need to be fed. It's always freaking there. And no matter where you go in the world, you see that 45-pound plate and you pick it up. It's 45 pounds. Guess the next day it's going to come? It's 45 pounds. There's no handout. There's no welfare. It's like, so when you talk about pure, to me, that's like as good as it gets.
I totally agree.
And it'll be here after us.
Oh yeah,
when we're done,
that's what I say. That's what I say. I'm like, I have this gym on here with all this equipment, and I'm like, these machines are going to be around when I'm long gone. Somebody's going to be on these machines, lifting these weights, pulling all these dumbbells up. Wow, I'm gone.
It's still going to be 45 pounds,
and it'll still be 45 pounds. That's right. Yeah. It's interesting because if you look at, I feel like for people who are in the fitness field or we're into fitness, we are really in touch with it. and you go on social media, you see, you have all these things coming your way. You're seeing all this fitness videos, people training, workout videos. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, wow, fitness is really blown up. Like, I think that. I'm like, there's so many people doing it. But the reality is, from what I'm finding, it's really not. Like, it seems like that, but I'm in a little bubble kind of, because I'm just surrounded by fitness. I get fed all this fitness stuff constantly on my feed. Everything's just being thrown at me.
You are the fitness algorithm.
Yeah, I'm the fitness algorithm.
Instagram headquarters, like, send it to Mark.
Send it. So I'm like, oh, fitness is everywhere. But the reality is, like you said, there's all these people still that are having health issues, that are having diabetes.
Oh, it's crazy.
And there's so many people, and it's because, again, it really is a small community that is really into fitness still to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I feel like from the 90s to now, I'm sure fitness has grown, but it's still not as big as I feel it is.
I don't think it's been adopted where right now it's still an offshoot, meaning the perception that I believe when people think about, first of all, when you hear nutrition, they think it's a diet, or when you hear fitness, you think it has to be like this crazy, just different life you have to live, as opposed to it just being just a lifestyle, just part of you. And when you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the thing that I would love for people to their mindsets to change, and I see this a lot, is and I don't understand it, but they're like, oh, I gotta work out. Oh, and they're so
and you've already
said about it.
But you've already lost. Like that whole workout is actually this little decision that you've just made to make this opposed to a Starbucks. Like literally for me, the gym is not going to the gym. It's getting my butt up when the alarm rings and getting my bleep to the gym.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Like I like working out, dude. Like
when you're there. You might as well. I had a home gym, failure, because I didn't use it. Yeah. And I got soft and complacent. I was just like, failure, I don't be there. No. Sold all the equipment. Now I'm like, I gotta have a pain point. So I don't ask for discounts on memberships. If I'm gonna join a gym, I'm gonna play full retail because I want skin in the game. I tell people when they're like, what gym should I go to, whatever, I'm like, go to the one that you're closest to and pay as much as you possibly can. And I hope it hurts. I hope when you write the check to your gym and you see it come out, it freaking makes you think, damn. And
that's true. Because what does some of the commercial gyms do? And we're not going to put out names out there, but super low fees. People stay members forever. And the problem with that is they go, oh, I have a membership over there.
Yeah.
And they never go, but they feel good about it because they have a membership. And if anybody ever asks, they go, oh yeah, I have a membership.
But their model, they don't want people to go.
Well, that's right.
So I have a friend at a commercial gym, which I won't put him or the gym on blast, but I like data. I like to look at stuff. And so one of the gyms I go to gives you this app and they can track everything or whatever. And I just asked him one day, I was like, hey, what's the average number? What was he doing? Something about customer analytics or whatever. And I go, what's the, somehow the topic came up when he was telling me the number of members that they have that go more than 3 days a week. So if you looked at an entire year and let's say you had 100 people, right? And then, 20%, meaning 20 of them averaged 3 or more days. So some had more, some had less. And so I'm thinking 5 or 10%. So remember, these are these big box gyms. So I'm talking at least probably in the thousands or 10,000s of members, right?
Easily,
just real transactional. What do you think he told me as far as a number? So the question is, what percentage of people who actually own an active membership at this gym, percentage-wise, attend the gym on an average 3 or more days a week?
Okay. I would say
it surprised the crap out of me. I was way off, by the way. And this is not a trick question.
No, I get it. Percentage-wise, okay, so I would always kind of joke and say it's probably 20%.
I thought so too.
But the reality is
it was like less than 1.
Okay, I was thinking maybe it was like 5.
That blew me away. And here's the thing: if everyone actually went to these gyms, their system would break.
Oh no, it would completely destroy it.
They're not,
because they can't support it.
No, they can't. So it's kind of like overselling an airline. So they already know they're selling more memberships. But if you're thinking about this from service standpoint, there's no way they could deliver on the service if everyone actually wanted to do that.
Because how many people complain that they go to some of these gyms and like, man, it's so crowded in there. I can't even get on a machine. And think about it. And that's only 1% of the people that are coming in. And sure, there's those peak times, right?
Yeah.
Where maybe
broccoli
higher percentage of the
kids,
people are going to come in at that peak time. So it's crazy. But again, they can't even support that.
Oh yeah.
Even for that.
So here's where your gym comes into play as far as where that shines is for the most part.
Most of our members come here.
No, but you're different though. What I'm saying is you're not the big box models. You're the ones who actually can cater and tailor to your customers' needs, and you know your members and so forth. So they're going to come for that.
Yeah.
But the average person who goes to the commercial gym is doomed for failure. They don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
There's no chance for a couple of reasons. One, so even when I go offshoot hours to a regular commercial gym, I know what I'm doing. For the most part, I'm not going to get any knuckleheads give me any problems. But again, I'm really respectful. I have a plan A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I still find it challenging to get a complete workout in because of the lack of equipment or they're broken or something. And this is from someone who's been doing this for a very long time. So imagine Mr. Joe, 35 years old, walks off the street, got his gym membership. He doesn't stand a chance.
No.
He's going to walk in. Maybe he Googled some stuff. He's going to look at that. And he's going to be like, oh, I'm going to do back today. He walks over, the back machine's done. I'm just going to do some cardio. He's going to look around, feel ashamed, feel embarrassed, and go home.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, if you're listening to this, hire a trainer like these gentlemen here at Iron Hawaiian Fitness, pay a lot for your membership or get a good value, and get nutrition advice. But you're not going to get nutrition advice at a commercial gym. They will, so I'm telling you, you're going to spend the money either way. You're going to either spend it now, get the right advice, or you're going to spend it on the back end when now you're forced to do it. Don't be forced to do it. Do it because you want to.
That's right. Yeah. And I guess, like when I started this gym, I mean, my whole thing is it was all about like results, right? Like, it's a result driven gym, like that was the thing. Like, hey, I feel like honestly in here, we don't have nearly as much members as commercial gyms do, but for our numbers, I feel like it's probably 85% of the people come in, you know what I mean? It's the opposite.
But there's probably a community there and there's probably accountability.
There is accountability. Yeah. Those people actually.
And that's actually what they're coming for.
Right. Well, because if I don't see them for a while and then they come in and I go, hey, how you been, man? I haven't seen you. And then they go, oh yeah, hey, I was busy, man. So they're all of a sudden, they're like, oh, Mark remembered I hadn't been here for a while, and I'm just like, and I'm not trying to razz them. I'm just like, I really just was like, I haven't seen you. Yeah. But then, they're like, wow, he notices, That
would be a funny parody. So have you ever seen any of your gym members or clients out in the community, like at the store or something?
Oh, yeah.
And the response they give you, almost like they're checking themselves on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you're literally like, look, hey, I'm not your dad. Like, I'm not your mom. But the way they feel about that, they see you. That would be a hilarious parody where it's like, how do people act when they see their coach in the community? Like the things they do, they're just like, no, this isn't for me. It's for a friend. Or I worked out today, even though I didn't make it in. I was doing push-ups at home. It's like, I didn't even ask that.
That's the one. Well, I've been at the home. There's a gym by my house. I've been kind of going over there, but I'm coming back now. I'm coming back. And what's funny? A lot of times, I'm not even kidding you. Literally, the next week, those people will come in. Yeah. I've seen them outside, and they'll show up. I'm like, "Hey, you're in." They're like, "Yeah, man, I saw you," and I was like, "I got to get back in there."
Reminder,
reminder, right?
And I think that's what it is. I've come to learn that most of the stuff when I'm trying to coach somebody, fitness-wise at least, it's not this big epiphany. I'm not going to tell you exercises that most people are like, I've never heard this before. I've never seen this machine before. Some people do. It's the accountability I think that they paid for. They want someone you're going to be not transactional. It's just like, if I don't show up, or I know we're talking every week, or I know we're doing a Zoom call or we're meeting up, it's like, I know I need to be ready on point for that time. And that's what some folks need.
Yeah. And because we had talked about it too, I think even people that are experienced that love training, and sometimes we even need it, like we need that keeps us focused, that keeps us pushing, because or just maybe pushing harder than what you would normally do. So I think everybody could use it for sure.
I still hire trainers. I believe you should always continue to learn. Never think that so I budget to have a trainer. I'm going to probably hire Hodge one day to train me, just because I truly believe this with all my heart. You can always learn from somebody.
That's right.
Even if it was just like, I'm going to hire you to work on my delts. There are someone out there that could totally help you with that. So I always invest in learning, because then you become a better coach. And then as you get older, things change too. So I'm a fan of both coaching and being coached.
Yeah.
So in that way, you continue to learn and
stay
humble.
Man.
One of the hardest trainers I had is a guy named Ken. He at 24 Hour Fitness. So I like to say names, but
you're good.
He does geriatrics. So like his average client is like 80 years old.
Okay.
And I just remember one time he walked over to me like Mr. Miyagi, and he's like touching my shoulder going, you're strong here, but your small muscles are weak. And I'm thinking, this is when I was ego lifting.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
talking about, dude.
the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm 240 pounds.
Yeah.
And he's like, come here, let me show you something. And he just sat me down on the straight bar. It was a low row. He gets the lat pull down bar. He's like, all right, sit up, chest out, traps down, shoulders back, lock out your elbows. I want you to hold this bar. And he drops the pin to like 5 or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
He's like, just do this. I just want you to shrug, and we're going to work that small connector
Just
between your
engage.
shoulder. And we just did that. He's like, trust me, your big muscles are fine. It's your tiny little connector muscles that are going to pay the price. And this is why you're going to do this. And I was thinking, okay, I don't really feel anything. And he took me through a couple more things on like the Bosu ball. So to this day, in fact, I just hired him maybe 4 months ago for like a 6-package deal, because he still teaches me stuff. And because he works with mostly seniors. So he's doing all these kind of crazy, like Tai Chi, freaking.
Yeah.
So I'm very open to learning different discipline styles and like being a student. Because when I was 20, I knew everything, but now I'm 47. I don't know anything.
I know. Dude, I've learned, oh my God. Like when I started this gym, I was like 43, something like that. And yeah, 42. And I thought I had, a vast amount of knowledge, and over the years, I've learned so much, in the last 13 years that I've had this place, so much more. I'm still to this day, like you said, there's always things that I'm learning, picking up, and
Which actually makes it kind of fun though, right?
No, it is fun because I wanna find something. I'm like, when I do learn something different, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because I'm like, man, I've been in this for so long.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something pops up like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it from people that you would never expect.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody can contribute. You never know.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm always open-minded to people, even the guy who doesn't look like maybe he has the knowledge,
Yeah.
he might know something and it's worth hearing it out, know. So
it's kind of cool.
For sure. It is super cool. That's what I love about it. That's what I love about the fitness, the training, and it's just, for me, it's fun. Like I said, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. People are like, oh, working out, but I really just enjoy it. I make
too.
it a fun thing, and the feeling that I get after, and we didn't talk about this, but what do you think about supplements? Are you a big believer in it? I know you have a product line.
I do. I have a product line, and my background actually also is in pharmaceutical sales.
Okay.
So I did 24 years in pharmaceutical sales. I was at Merck.
Pharmacy guy.
Yeah. So
where were you 20 or 15 years ago? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? You look like. Did you have hair? So I worked for Merck for 10 years, and then I went over to Actelion, which got by Janssen, which got by Johnson & Johnson.
Oh wow!
So initially, we were in the chronic disease state, like diabetes. So we launched all those drugs, like Zetia. We can talk about these new diabetic drugs on another show, and I'll tell you my 2 cents. But it's time for another day. So we were in the chronic disease states, and that was another kind of reason for me to change. Was literally after 20 plus years, looking back, we spend more money per capita with drugs here in our healthcare system per citizen than any other country, but we're ranked like 17th or 18th as far as the quality of your life.
Yeah.
So we have longevity, like so you have a long lifespan, but your health span, meaning the quality of your health, how you're living those years, is disastrously poor. So looking back on that, I was like, have we even made a difference? There's like literally the curves weren't changing. We're worse off now than we were. And even having a degree, so you kind of learn pharmacology, even though that's not my background, but you just learn how drugs affect the body. And for the most part, you realize kind of to get that effect, you kind of have to stay on something for it to work. It's not like it's going to cure your diabetes, right?
Right.
And so then you realize, well, if you want to just be on a drug for the rest of your life, then yeah. But if you're really trying to make a change, there's only really one way to go about that. But to your point with supplements, I am for them. But the reason they're called supplements is they supplement a deficiency. So if people think out of the gate, you're going to take a pill or a pre-workout or something, and it's going to compensate for you not sleeping or eating right, as you know, that doesn't work. But if we've got the low-hanging fruit, you're drinking enough water, you're sleeping enough at night, you're putting in consistent hours in the gym, you're getting your blood work done. And at that point, you realize like either you have low T or you have low vitamin D, low vitamin K. You should supplement that under the care of a doctor if you're going to take like TRT or hormones or whatever. And then for just regular supplements, find one that meets your profile and that's clean for you. But the majority of us, even when you try to do your best nutrition wise, are grossly deficient because our foods in America are just bastardized. They're horrible. Like you can eat it. The apples today aren't the same as like an apple 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're trying our best. And you would think I'm eating this, but the nutrients aren't there.
You're not getting it.
So that's the point. So we are deficient. And even there's a big myth where people think, oh, you're overweight, you're overfed. Some of the most malnourished people are obese people because they're big on calories and fat, but you don't have the nutrients. So people think like, oh, malnourished is some kid in Africa who's like all emaciated with flies around his mouth and distended belly. Nah, it's the big dude who hasn't worked out on long, who's got like 56% body fat. That dude's malnourished.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah.
So I think supplements play a role. But here's what I tell people with supplements is one, first know what you need to take. And two, realize that this is the long haul. So if you're going to buy one bottle and then just not take it anymore, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Plan ahead to know, okay, if this supplement costs $50 and it's going to work, are you committed to staying on this for at least a year and then go from there? But don't buy it for a month and then, so I tried whatever and it didn't work, or I tried this and I felt good, but I stopped. Just if you can't commit to it financially or mentally ahead of time, it's not going to matter if it works or not, because you're not going to take it. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree. And so I'm sure like you work with a lot of people that are older, 40s, 50s. And what are your thoughts? Because a lot of people, personally, I think they need TRT.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you actually, I'm sure probably tells people, hey, go get your blood work done, go get your panels. Do you actually tell people, hey, you need some TRT? Like
100%. Here's classic example. And I think I overheard Hodge talk about one of his clients, and I had a similar profile. We train a lot of military guys today because of a lot of chemicals and things. You're seeing guys, we have the lowest testosterone of any generation over the last 100 years. Yeah. I'm seeing guys in their late 20s, and I heard your profile on this too. Yeah. This is the same thing. So you want to be, this is where the lie comes in. You want to be between like 5 and 8. Yeah. And now you're hearing people normalize like 300. That's not normal. That's not normal. Yeah. And so here's when I would say, get your blood work done. You're doing everything, and this is how they present. Man, I'm putting in my reps. I'm eating clean, and you can kind of verify it too. A lot of the Army guys, I'm like, you kind of can tell doesn't have the energy, doesn't have the libido. I'm like, go get your blood work, and then he gets it checked, and he was like 260. I said, man, there is nothing I can do to overcome this. Yep. Like I can give you every pearl of wisdom. Honestly, you got to go get on TRT, or something that you're eating is causing an issue. And it's not probably what you suspect. It's not like it's a bunch of crap. There's probably some kind of chemical, like a seed oil, that's triggering a dramatic hormone imbalance that it's hard to pinpoint, So do some food elimination, start with a fast. If you fast and your T levels go up, then you can reintroduce things. But if you're that low and you're in your 30s or 20s, you need to be on TRT. I just say, get your blood work done, be under the care of a physician. There's a lot of solid guys who can monitor your bloods, give you the right dose. Growth hormone shouldn't be, shied away from. But as long as you know your numbers, it can be used appropriately, and it should be. And so I feel it's like anything else. It's a tool. That's just having a pen. You can go around and stab someone in the eye with a pen, or you can write a novel. Right. So it's a tool. It's a tool,
I don't think people understand the health dangers in having low testosterone for substantial periods of time. They just think, it's something that comes out of a vial. So I really don't know if I want to get on that, if it'll be bad. It's like, it's going to be bad if you don't. Especially like when I did mine, I was 23. Yep. And the first thing she said was like, this is not good. We have to bring this up. Yep. And so people with low testosterone, that's not just something just to overlook or let the stigma get to you, or something like you need to go get it fixed, or else you're going to have some health problems down the road. Oh, you will 100% have it. There is no doubt about that. And the whole point with that too is obesity is one of the major issues that drives low testosterone for a persistent amount of time. And so even with muscle mass, there's so much data now that talks about muscle mass and how important it is. So us bodybuilders, we were right all along. Seriously. I know. I always said it, but we're kind of extreme. I know. So but here's the thing. But they're saying now,
even for women, because I'm sure you hear this a lot, touch a weight and I'm going to get big.
Yes.
There is zero chance you are going to put on muscle. I promise you this. A lot of things will happen, but you will not get bulky.
That was always a funny, no, that was always a funny thing.
I brushed the dumbbell.
I know. Well, especially when I started lifting back in the 80s and then the 90s. I think in the 90s, women started kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable about lifting weights.
Yeah. It's still a lot of cardio, though.
But it was a lot of cardio, dude.
And you're wasting away. You're wasting your muscle.
I don't want to gain. I don't want to get
fat.
Big. Yeah, it was a skinny fat. Yes. It was the skinny fat.
Now they've proven it time and time again. The number one thing to help you live a long, prevent like your bones breaking and to actually have a lifespan is resistance training. Lifting heavy weights consistently, whether you're 33, 53, or 83.
Way to go, man.
And they've said that if you lose a pound of muscle, that is more detrimental to your health than gaining a pound of fat. That's how important muscle is, because it helps you clear sugar, everything you need as far as just the things that you need for function and the way your biosystems work and blood sugar are based in your muscles.
Yeah, because see, this was a thing, like, because I'm getting older now, right? And then I see, like, I was a lot bigger, obviously, when I was competing, and I've come down probably about 25 pounds. I dropped, So now I'm at a nice weight. I feel good. Yeah, like 225.
You feel comfortable at that weight?
I feel good, yeah. And I don't have to do much to even keep it.
Because your muscles are mature. So you're at the muscle mature. You need the minimum effective dose right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the minimum, dude. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is I've always wondered, I'm like, okay, in my head, I was like, oh, maybe I'll come down. Like, what about if I came down to, say, 210? But for me to come down to 210, that's going to be some fat, some muscle.
Yeah. Are you going to give it up? Because if you want to reclaim it, it's going to be harder.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Is that going to be healthier for me in the long run, for me dropping another, say, 10 pounds?
Or just staying where you're at?
Or staying where I'm at. That's the question that I kind of pose. Like, would it be better? Would it be like, no, you're probably better being a little bit heavier. You're not too heavy, but overall for your health, it's better for you in the long run. You're going to have a better quality of life at 225 pounds than, say, going down to 210, 205. Right?
You know my thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Muscles in the bank. It's just like what you'd save instead of living check to check.
Yeah.
I think even though we might have a little more mass now, because I've even thought the same thing too. It's like getting into more with the running and stuff. And I'm just like, oh,
you want to come down a little bit. Because you get older.
My joints.
Right.
And so you're like, okay. But then I'm thinking, okay, if everything that they talk about is true, where you're losing muscle atrophy, and then you don't know the variable, right? So God forbid you get injured and you're on the sideline, it's kind of like you're going to atrophy really fast. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe holding as much muscle as possible, as long as I'm still able to do the things I want and more functional now. Those are my more so goals than just being bigger. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this is for the 20, 30, 40-year-old or 40-year down the road for me, where I'll look back and be like, I wish I had that to come down from. I don't know. Because I have the same thoughts. I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, because I have one of my friends who years ago, he was bigger than me. Like, I mean, he was a big dude. He's like probably 280, and now he got really into just, he has a family. He started a family later in life in his 40s and all that. And now it's crazy. Now he's like 193, 194.
Yeah.
And I see him and I'm just like, bro, like, it's kind of weird to see him, because he's probably at like 7% body fat.
Yeah.
So he's very lean. He's lean, but he also lost a lot of muscle.
Yeah. He's like papa mode.
He became very obsessed with, I want to live a long life for my kids. I want to get my weight down.
Yeah.
But I was always like, I don't even know if you needed to go to 190. I think he could have stayed at 200, 210, and I think would have been fine.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going like, where do you draw
go?
the line?
Yeah.
Where do you go?
If you find out, let me know, because I think about those things too.
I'm kind of working.
Yeah. I think about this because I've had different weights where I felt certain ways, and different applications in life too, where you're just like, depending on what you want to do and stuff like that. So, but I think having the lean muscle, because also what I'm learning is there's different quality of muscle. So my fear is I take my foot off the gas, and then the quality of muscle changes. So you can have the same volume of muscle, but not all muscles are the same. It's like how they rate steaks and stuff.
True.
And so I want to keep the quality of muscle high, where it's responsive and repair value and all that stuff. So that's one of the reasons I kind of like, maybe at a lower weight it's not the same, because I'm not putting in the same level of work. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm just gonna go by feel, man. If it feels right, if I feel good, I'll just keep going with that.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on fasting, on eating, like, three meals a day, 6 meals a day?
I love it. Yeah.
What's up? Like, what do you think?
So first thing for me, it's nutrition, and the sugar's the devil. So eliminate all sugars.
I love sugar, bro.
Sugar is just
It's
wreaked havoc on our entire. It's you know what happened was with the 80s and 90s, the fat loss craze. Everything was fat free.
It was fat free,
but to make flavor,
sugar.
they added sugar in everything. So we are literally under attack. Everything, even the stuff that's supposedly sugar, your body just wasn't designed to work on sugar at all, right? So long story boring. I currently what I do is I fast 1 day a week. So every Friday I just fast for 24 hours. 24 hours.
Like no food at all,
just water and Redmond sodium salt. So there's some really powerful things that happen with fasting. So imagine our body basically. So we were made to have extremes like sleep, wake, feast, famine. If you look at the Bible, there weren't safe ways all over the place. It's like, okay, Mark, let's go hunting. We score a deer, we eat or we don't. It's like, oh, Mark, we're eating berries, and then there's there's periods we're not eating at all.
Yeah, right.
So we were designed to go off of that. Not I can go into Safeway and literally eat myself to death or eat all the time.
Right.
And so what happens is even when we feed ourselves, everything is fed, the good and the bad. So if you got like a precancerous cell or a tumor or anything, it's being fed too. So your body needs to be shut down. Like if you never shut your gym to clean and restock or whatever, and just had people run through all the time, that's like eating all the time. At some point, you got to shut the doors. You got to get your house in order. You got to let the folks clean up or do whatever. And the same thing with our body. Our body can do a lot of wonderful things, but we just keep pounding it. So we keep beating it and beating it and beating it and never let it come up for air. But if we just stand back, give it what it needs, it will do almost everything. Even with so at around 18 hours, a thing called autophagy kicks in when you fast. And that's literally your body eating decaying cells. And then about 24 hours, you're actually creating stem cells and your growth hormones increasing. So there's these miraculous things that are scientifically proven that happen when you fast. The other thing is I only eat between 12 noon and 8 p.m. So that's a challenge for me because I try to prioritize protein. So I try to get about 220 to 240 grams of protein. So I supplement twice with a supplement shake, but it's hard. I mean, even eating throughout the day, and I've done both things. I've been plant-based. I've been a carnivore. I've eaten 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say Bambi. I don't care if that was the last thing on the island. I would eat Bambi. I'm not for the animals. I just wanted to test it on myself to see what worked.
Okay.
So I tried all these different things, and where I found it for me, it's an omnivore diet. So I eat from 12 noon to 8 p.m. I don't eat processed foods or try not to. Don't eat sugar. Try not to. Don't drink soda. Try not to. Breads, grains, seed oils. Stay away from all that. And
you do?
Yeah. So basically it's like lean meats, eggs, vegetables for carbs, and like fruits. And I basically, and so I don't count calories. I don't weigh my food. I just eat until I'm satiated and I'm full, and the body does the rest. And I feel better that way. And I just look at the input and let the output come.
Yeah.
But I've been able to keep my body fat relatively within a small tolerance. I don't have these huge weight fluctuations with my weight and everything. I feel generally good as far as my cognitive ability and my brain function, and just feeling not depressed or too crazy, or and I'm not getting complaints from the wife or the kids like, you're a gladiator, you're crazy, or I get that when I was dieting for bodybuilding shows. I get the two things was halitosis and like you're being an asshole.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I don't want to,
the moods.
You don't want to be that guy all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because I do a similar thing as you as far as my eating goes.
Yeah.
I usually don't eat. I usually get up and I typically won't have food till maybe like around 11, sometimes 12.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I usually stop eating. Probably I try to stop eating around 8, sometimes 9. And the reason why I even did this, it wasn't even. It was more how I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, my stomach's not really liking me
Getting
eating
up
all
and,
the time.
Yeah.
And eating late, and then my stomach's weird. Or getting up in the morning and then eating right away, and then my stomach gets kind of. So I just kind of started doing it based off of, again, feel.
Yeah, how your body feels,
and
right?
I was like, okay, shorter window of time of eating works. I don't do that 24-hour fasting, but I do, like I said, it's typically on average there's a good 12-hour fasting, 12 to 14-hour fasting daily almost.
And you're getting a lot. And so it compounds too, it's cumulative too. So it's not just like independent. So the more you fast, it's not linear. It literally is exponential. So all of those previous benefits roll forward and they start at a higher base level. and then all your previous benefits start at a higher base level and go from there. So you're probably a product of the fact that you've been doing that for so long and just giving your body a chance to just recuperate and come around. That's why.
It feels, because I can feel it.
Yeah.
Like I can just feel when I'm doing too much. I'm like, oh, my body needs a break.
Yeah. And I like my blood sugar to be at a certain level too. So Hodge and I were talking about this one time, and I do constant glucose monitoring twice a year. Okay. Yeah. So you can do it too. It's now they have these third-party companies, but I just have my doctor write me a prescription. They have to do a prior auth because if you don't have like diabetes, it comes up like, why do you need this? But it's the Libra Freestyle by Abbott Labs. And so it's this little disc. You snap it into your arm. It's got a little needle to read your blood. And basically you can put a patch over it so you can still shower, go to the pool or whatever. And then it syncs to your phone. So what's cool about that is I might be eating something and think, okay, here's an example, apples. I wasn't discerning with apples. So I was doing green or red.
Okay.
Splitting hairs, but I just was curious. So I was eating apples just thinking apples are fine. And so I ate a red apple. My glucose went up beyond 20 points. So you generally want to be below 125 on average. And you want your blood sugar to go back to under 125 after 2 hours of eating. That's postprandial. If it doesn't go back under 125 after 2 hours when you eat, that's a definition of diabetes. And so that means your body can't handle the sugar that's in your body. So this is why you do that too. So if you do a blood stick for like the snapshot, it doesn't really give you the chart. But when you have the constant glucose monitor, I can eat something and literally in real time see what it's doing. Like if your blood sugar is looking like a polygraph, that's not good. You generally want a linear or straight, and then a nice gradual. You don't want to bam. And so what was happening with me with apples was like green was good and red was a little wonky. So I still eat red apples, but I'm doing it under informed information. Like I know what I'm putting myself into if I choose to eat a red apple. So what do? Add a little bit of fiber, put it with some vegetables or something that'll normalize it. I won't just eat it straight raw dog, just the apple by itself. So those little things, those little things, even though in my mind, so even some of the stuff that I categorize as, oh, this should be good for me, everyone's unique, right? So I could eat it. Maybe Hodge eats it and he's good. He's good to go. But we just don't know. So that was cool because it actually tells me what's happening. And then you can hopefully make better decisions. It changed the way I looked at food. Because then I could physically see, because, beyond the way it tastes and feeling full, you can't like see how it's affecting your biosystems. This is as close as it gets. So when you see that, you're kind of just like, damn, I did like that ice cream because I like ice cream.
Right. And then you'll see what the numbers are.
Yeah. So maybe I don't do it as much.
The numbers might not be that bad.
Yeah. You never know, but you can try it.
Some people can do ice cream and be like, hey.
Yeah. And so for me, taking my kids to Baskin Robbins, like I'm not advocate for sugar. So I try to do 80% right. So no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not consistently good versus occasionally perfect. So that 20%, do I like to take my kids to get an ice cream at Baskin Robbins? Heck yeah. Because I loved that when I was a kid walking in there, the flavor explosion. But we don't do it every day. But I still have that. And so I know it's like, okay, if I'm going to spend my 20% budget, it's probably going to be there with the kids because if they like it and it's something we like to do, but we're not going to be doing it every day. And I'm going to share with them why maybe we don't want to do it every day too, so.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I've seen the monitors and I've never used it. So
it's kind of trippy.
How long do you wear it for?
So it only lasts for 2 weeks. So it's 14 days.
So you read it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the way it works is you inject, you shoot it. It's like a little, like it snaps it into you. So you use like a little plunger and you just go like this and it literally just sticks to you.
In there.
Yeah. It's just, and the little wire goes in your body. It's pretty cool.
I mean, do you know that it's there the whole time or kind of there's a little bit of pain.
You can't forget about it. If you clip it on a door, you'll definitely remember it's there. But I put this patch. You can buy these aftermarket patches. And I just get the brown one so it blends in. So that way it kind of protects the monitor a little bit better. And then you can go swimming and everything with it too. But they only last for 14 days and then it's no good anymore. And then you have to take it off. But you'll have 14 days worth of information for your records.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. And you can actually put a note next to something. So let's say you ate something and it spikes kind of crazy. You can touch that data point and put a note and like, I don't know, sandwich or whatever you ate that you can remind you because you look back on what was a spike, you don't remember what you ate, but then you can go back and see your notes. And so I think that for me, seeing that's more helpful than me. Like if I just read about what food do to you, it doesn't have the connection. But when I see like, input results, that helps me change my mind to make a decision or not.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, a lot of the modern stuff that they're coming out with now that we didn't have 20 years ago, even.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's really, really helpful. And one more thing too, I think it was interesting that I think a lot of people, I feel like a lot of times, a lot of people think, oh man, these guys, they're in shape. They probably just eat so good all the time. They're always constantly just watching their food. And I think that people don't realize like we're all human. Like you said, you have Baskin and Robbins, you have snacks. You probably have those days where you're just like, man, I'm hungry. I mean, I want this.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's like normal. I mean, I don't think people realize it's like we're not machines. We're not just being on this perfect eating plan all the time. It's
but
hard
you're consistent over time.
Because that's the thing. Like you said, the 80%. I used to have a thing where it was like the 70%.
Yeah.
If mine was like 70%, and you're good. You know what I mean? But yours is 80. But yeah, that's kind of what it is, right?
It's just sticking with it over time.
Over the course of years, it adds up.
Yeah.
So.
And it's easier, I think, than most people will make it out to be. Like, you don't really have to starve yourself. You don't have to eat like a rabbit. And if you're doing it right for the long haul, it's actually something that you're going to actually want to keep doing, because people are like, well, do I have to give up this? And you can say, well, maybe not now. What will happen is you'll put in the work enough to your body that you'll actually not want to give something. You'll want to, you don't want to jeopardize all the work you've been doing.
Yeah.
And then your body's going to change where you're like, well, I don't want to eat that.
Yeah.
Versus I can't eat that. Like it's a choice you make because you actually don't really want to eat that anymore.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, because I know when I would, say be on diets for a bodybuilding show, whatever, and then the craving sometimes would get so bad, but it was such a turmoil in my head because I was like, I really want this thing, but then I was like, no, don't, because look how hard you've worked so far.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy because the side of me says, dude, we need to eat this. And then my other side's going, you're not eating that. And it would drive me crazy. I was like, oh my God, like I got to suck this up and just get through this, but that was extreme, but
What's your craziest post bodybuilding show meal?
It's funny.
You weren't the guy ordering the 12 pizzas.
No, I couldn't eat a ton. Well, right after the show, like literally say the day after the show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, that wasn't the time. It was usually like maybe 2 days, 3 days later.
Yeah.
I always loved, right after the show, man, one thing, like cereal for some reason.
Okay.
I love Lucky Charms cereal. It sounds crazy. I used to do Lucky Charms, like a big bowl of it.
Yeah.
I guess because it's like milk, right? I don't have milk and all that sugar and stuff, know.
You probably were super vascular too. Like the next day.
Oh my God.
Have you ever peaked the day after?
Sometimes a little bit, like, that happened a lot. But I remember my favorite, this was one of the big ones, was garlic bread with a lot of butter and like spaghetti, and I would get those French breads, like the big,
the full loaf,
and I would eat that whole thing with my big thing of spaghetti. And then there was one show that after I had pancakes, I had a weird thing about peanut butter pancakes.
Okay.
Like every day, like I was making pancake stacks. Yeah, I would literally cook them and just make stacks of it, and I don't know, for pancakes like weeks.
My jam too.
Weeks on end.
Yeah.
And another one was the egg sandwich. So egg sandwich, literally it was like mayonnaise with a couple of eggs, whole eggs in there with the yolk and bread, and I would just
go to town.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting, the things that you crave, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different, right? So
women have pregnancy, men have post bodybuilding.
We have post bodybuilding. And I always had a thing about sugary drinks too. Like that was a huge one because I never, I love like cranberry juice and things like that. It was just like, oh my God, let me just drink fruit juice after, because you didn't have juice for months.
I know.
So and that's like the worst for you. That's the absolute worst for you, but I love it, so yeah, man, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. It's interesting the things that we do, right? But I'm getting hungry right now. But yeah, there's a lot of food now I don't even touch, man. And that's just based off of the fact that I just don't feel good after I eat it. My stomach gets jacked up.
You're not craving it anymore.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't like the feeling, so I just don't want it, I'm just like, no, I'm good, man. I just want to feel good.
I hope I don't get that.
Oh, you might.
I can still eat just like a bodybuilder, and
you're
good. Awesome.
Yeah. I started getting that honestly in my late 40s. I want to say 48, 49, somewhere around there. That started. I never had really stomach problems. Yeah. Now my stomach is very sensitive.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I can tell you, I'll go eat out somewhere, and like literally will eat, and and it tends to be where it's like, oh yeah, like this thing of like fried rice and a bunch of meat and it's like four different things, right? Four different things.
Yeah.
And I'll eat it. And I know I'm like,
it's coming.
I gotta go. We gotta go. Come on, we gotta go. And I'm, and it's luckily it's like 15 minutes away, 20 minutes away. Dude, I'm coming home. Like I'm jumping in the car and I'm going straight to the bathroom and it's all coming out. And I'm just like, my body did not like that. Like it went through
like
me.
right there. It's instant like gratification, but instant. It's coming.
And then I'm just like, wait. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I can tell. It's just complete everything got, my body's like, no
more.
And so that's kind of wild to me. My body's literally just saying, yeah, this isn't working for us, dude.
Yeah.
Even though that tastes really good, right? And then you do it enough times to where I'm just like, I don't even want it anymore. Because I'm just like, I just don't like the feeling.
Yeah, you got that one time and then it's out of your system.
Yeah. And it's like, I just don't want to eat that stuff anymore. And I'm just like, okay. So I have to kind of be picky. I can't be like variety. Like you're never going to really see me do like a full buffet style because it's a waste of money.
11 things is what they generally say average person gravitates to. Like maybe one or two new things or whatever, but like most people have 11 things that they'll eat like 80 to 90% of the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally believe that.
And I actually can eat like that I can probably go for 3 months if I wanted to just not have to think about it, I can eat the same thing for about 3 or 4 months and not care. Like meaning I don't,
and
I'm
just
not,
be fine with
it.
it.
It's more mechanical. I'm not even like, I don't need to enjoy it. It's just like, I know what it's doing for me and be okay. And then I have to be intentional and be like, all right, I'm going to try something different this time. Not be a robot with the kids or the family this time, and we'll try something different. But if it were like just me and I was just like, I need to have clothes, I'm wearing athletic shirt and shorts. I don't want to have to think about it. I'm keeping my head shaved, so I'm not spending time. Like I like a lot of the just utilitarian stuff, just simple. And then the stuff I want to spend time and money on is more like the, like we're doing here, or the fitness or whatever, and I'm geeking out on that stuff. And then the other stuff, I don't want to have to like spend brain energy towards. So, and
I've always been like that when it comes to food, man. Honestly, like you give me rice, I do like rice. I grew up on it, so like rice, eggs, like beef. Like, I mean, those are things, man. I could eat that every day. Like every day, no problem, and I won't get tired of it. Like I literally will be like, oh, this is great. Like, and I like nuts, things like that. I love fruits. Other stuff like that. So. Pretty simple, like how you were, and I really, and it's fine. Like I could just do it, no problem. I guess that's just not everybody's like that. We kind of condition our minds, I think, to just our bodies to be like that. So, but there is a thing they say, right? Eating the same foods over and over, you can it creates like a food allergy. From eating, say you eat chicken all the time, right? People end up getting allergies, creating allergies from that, from eating it all the time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's the bacteria in your body. Yeah. So there is a thing on it, you can look it up, but where you can, that's why sometimes some bodybuilders, they'll have to change their food. Like they'll be like, oh, I ate fish and now they can't even touch that fish anymore, man. Like they'll start getting bad gas from it.
Well, like your gut biome is not getting enough.
Gut biome,
you're not getting enough of what it needs to be.
And then they can't even process the food anymore. And then they start having issues with
that. Makes sense
with that food. From the gut biome. From eating it over and over for years.
That's a thing though. They say our guts are second brain. Like it literally is its own little ecosystem, and there's so much power.
With all the bacteria. That's crazy. Yeah. I got into that. I mean, I'm no expert at it, but I never really thought about it before a lot, because I never had issues with food until later. I was like, I started looking into it. Like, that's interesting. Like you said, it's a whole nother system down there. And emotions and stress affect it too, affect how your body is. If you're high stress, I notice if I'm high stress, I'll tend to I'll go to the bathroom more often in that day.
Than other times.
Say I didn't sleep that much the night before. I'll use the bathroom a lot. I'm like, why am I using the bathroom? Because my body's kind of stressed out. It needs to rest. And
that's your signal. It's
my signal. My body's telling me, hey, dude, we need to rest. And I'm going to the bathroom a lot. Like, what's going on? It's interesting.
It's like whispering. So the folks will come to the boot camp. We'll do like first couple of weeks, just get you guys moving. Week 3, week 4, it's kind of like, hey, let's talk about nutrition. So it's like real community-based style. But that's one of the things we start talking about is listening to your body. And most of the time our bodies are speaking to us, but sometimes it's whispering. You don't want it to start yelling at you. But if you ignore that, we're gonna have a problem. So what is your body saying to you? What is it speaking to you? And listening and being in tune with that is really important, as opposed to like, oh, I felt this, but I didn't do anything about it, or I felt this, or I kept pushing through, or whatever. And it's like, well, that's why this is happening now, because that was your signal to kind of take heed and maybe make a change around that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, man. People don't, one, they don't listen, but two, I don't even think people are even in touch with their bodies.
Yeah.
Like, I almost feel like people are almost disconnected from their bodies.
Yeah.
Like their brain, they're thinking of other things in their life. They're focusing on other things. They're not even connected into their body at all, and thinking about their bodies and what's going on. And oh, I'm eating this. What's happening?
Being intentional.
Yeah, they're not.
Or their sympathetic system is what's keeping them alive. So I always make this kind of analogy when we talk about this. So the human body is by far the most amazing, complicated. It surpasses anything man has ever created, spatials, whatever. When you think about all that God has created and what we do, well, first of all, the odds of you being born as Hodge and you being born as Mark and me being born as Alim, like 1 in infinitum cajillion. It's crazy, the statistics, for you to be who you are and everything that is down to the hairs on your head in this form. So the first of all, start off with, we can't say we're not worth it. Like our odds. So statistically, you could win the lottery. The odds of you being born like you are today are greater than you winning the lottery. Like you have better odds of winning the lottery every day for the rest of your life.
Like being born.
Than born who you are, with all the things that you are, with all the, just everything, right?
Right.
So that means there's only one of me sitting here talking to you, just like there's only one you sitting here talking to me and Hodge. And so that's like the first barrier that you've already come into place. The second thing is we've been given this vessel, which is, it surpasses any most complicated thing ever in the world. But let's say you get a new stereo or new iPods. Yeah. What do most people go home and do? They crack open the manual, they read it, they get everything, they're geeking out. Oh, if you press this button or whatever. We get this body and we treat it like a freaking rental car. Maybe you should steer, maybe you should put the gas, maybe you should brake. Whatever. Have you at least researched or Google anything about your body or anything in a week? No. Like literally, there's no manual. You're literally just jumping in and driving it like you're in a rally, when you've gotten a bookshelf and you've probably read more about an IKEA bookshelf than you have about your body. Like the information is out there. Like literally just once a week, I try to learn one thing, something new. Just Google and research and then trust and verify and just educate myself about new things. It's like, oh, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that. But the average person, they're asking questions where you're just like, you could have just Googled that and gotten an answer. Yeah. So I think you're just saying that to have a conversation, as opposed to that must not be important to you.
Probably.
But you know what I mean? Like it's out there, but it's just like,
it's true, man. I mean, the investment in your body, right? I feel like people just, I mean, they're so focused on other things. Some people are like, I need to buy this house, or whatever, and so much energy towards that, and just leaving this to do nothing with it, to not take care of their body, just like work, gotta make the money. I'm not going to exercise. I'm eating crap. I'm eating, packaged good foods
until it gets your attention, and now everything that you're doing
till you have an issue, and then like, well, let me try and fix it. But the problem is now the issue's there now. Sometimes you can't even get rid of it. Sometimes now you got to live with that.
What are your thoughts on this? So, I look at my life right now in three seasons. Like 0 to 20 was like, just don't die. Glad to be alive. It is what it is.
Yeah.
20 to 40 was like material rat race. Rank up, corporate world, do all these things, and then you see the things you didn't have as a kid that you give to your kids, and you realize it's a devil's trap. You're disabling them. They're getting soft and weak, and you're like, careful what you wish for. You might get it. Yeah. So now you start to pull back, and I feel like season 3, 40 and over, is like contribution and purpose. Like, what are we doing? How are we, contributing? What are we doing beyond just my selfish self? And so it's kind of like that now, where how can we help someone else as opposed to just doing it for me here in the now,
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think for sure, like helping others, and that's part of why I started this gym too, but helping others. But then I also feel like I still to this point, like I was working on like, what's my purpose here? What am I really doing here? Is this what I was supposed to be doing really? Or is this just another piece? And it's really supposed to be this, but I haven't seen it yet, or I'm not seeing that yet, but I'm really supposed to be doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You feel like you're on a journey?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. And a lot of times I'm just like, man, what's going on? But I know that
Star of your show.
I'm not quite there yet.
I feel the same way too. I
Yeah,
honestly feel like this is like I've been reborn at 40 because so many truths and so many hard lines and so many things that if you'd asked me like 26, 27, I would be like black and white. There's like I was like on my soapbox.
I was so different. Dude.
Yeah. And now it's just like an inquisitive mind. And I feel because I reserved the right to get smarter and I've taken the stance of where it's just like, that might be true today, or, I'm not talking about just, crazy dwellings, but there might be another version of this. Like, let's continue to explore, let's continue to see, let's continue to grow. And that has led me on, I think, a better purpose-driven life than when I was going after man's design. Like, you got to get this, you got to get that. And all it is a rat race and a trap.
I know.
And like you said, I don't know where this journey with fitness is going, but I feel super purposeful while doing it. And it's mainly through, I didn't think I would enjoy being a coach because I always grew up thinking, those who can't do coach. Right. And I was just like, no, that's not me. I can do. And that's not accurate because not everybody can coach. And what I mean by that is when you ask a lot of people who are highly successful in a lot of different fields, they're good individually, which makes them good. But to really make you have mastery, can you impart that wisdom on someone else? And there's a lot of people who highest level of everything, but you say, well, what makes you good? They can't even articulate and they don't even know. It's just the way they do things. So I think a good coach is someone who can actually take what they know, make it digestible to someone who completely is not where you're at, and then them get results similar or even better to yours. And that's where I think growth really happens. Is like, I can do this for myself, but let me put my money where my mouth is. Can I get it for that person?
Take them through it. Yeah.
And when I see that person get results, I've been like, so humbled, like
it's very satisfying.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Not to imagine if you are somebody that does it yourself and maybe you're not genetically gifted to do it, but because of that, you've learned a lot of stuff because you've had to get around a lot of corners and loopholes.
Yeah.
And then you find somebody that has the genetic gifts or has the ability to do it. They just need some coaching. And then they take that and they just go forever with it.
Oh yeah.
So that's why, you just can't you find coaches that haven't done a lot themselves. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean they're, like you said, a bad coach. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe they didn't have the final tools that this person had. Well, if all the stuff that I learned not being able to do this, I give it to them, then there's no telling what they could do with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, awesome having you on here, dude. It was
honored, man.
Good conversation, bro.
It's been a pleasure, man. It's I hold you guys both in high esteem. I know you guys are doing great things for the community. I take that seriously to heart. It's I don't see any of what we're doing as competition. We can literally have 100 more gyms and there's a drop in the bucket of the people we're serving.
So much business here.
And the point is, it's not about the individual anymore. Like I said, this true, like as a population and as a nation, there is winters coming. I mean, we have so many pain points to hit. The fitness levels in the military are at an all-time low. You've got huge recruiting concerns. A lot of it primarily just not being able to fit to fight. If war happens, you're not going to staff up in 1 to 2 years. We're talking a 10-year horizon. So there's all these things where I just look at it from a different lens as I used to. And so when I see what you guys are doing and other fitness professionals, I'm like, yeah, we need to send people to your gym. We need to promote you. Because one, there's a law of abundance, and that's what God wants for everyone, for prosperity. And two, we all grow by helping one another. It's not a either or. Like, no one has to lose for someone else to win. And we're still not even putting a drop in the bucket or a dent in the bigger picture. Like, the people who are going to get fit are going to get fit no matter where they are. Yeah, that's going to happen, right? Yeah. I could drop Hodge on an island and come back and he's like bench pressing coconut trees. That's going to happen. That's not the problem. It's the ones we can impact. So I just say hats off to what you guys are doing. Keep fighting the good fight, and definitely want to keep supporting you folks. Man. So it's awesome, brother.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, man. And we'll put all your information.
I got you
on there. And okay.
Yeah. So we're working on challenge coins, but for now we've got flags. So we have Big Tire Bootcamp flags, and we just try to fly them or have someone flag bear them, who's special. So this gentleman, he actually was our flag bearer, and this is one of our gentlemen. He comes to our we do an addiction and recovery clinic on Thursday. So these are state ordered individuals who've been going through addiction and recovery. Some of them show up with bracelets on their ankle or whatever. And one of the benefits of exercise that we've learned is that if you work someone up hard enough and kicks in that sympathetic system, that brain synapse or whatever that's going on is almost identical to being like cocaine or heroin. So you're getting that dopamine hit. So that's why they have a very low relapse rate if they can continue with their fitness journey.
I agree.
And so this gentleman, his story is basically, he said, I asked people, what's your why when they come out? And he goes, a lot of people say, oh, I'm trying to get my kids back from the court or probation officer. And he was like, the only thing I have left is my life. And I had to think about that. And I was just like, man, that's a pretty strong statement where he says, everything has been taken from me. And he's like, he even felt he was going to take his own life. So he's come back. He's on a good path right now. But fitness was a foundation for him to get back to where he was. Because I tell people, they can take everything from you. They can berate your name, but they can't take your fitness from you. They can't undo those 10 reps you just did. That's yours forever, for yours to keep. So he was our flag bearer at one of our classes last week. So he flew this flag. So I wanted to present this to you and your gym from Big Tire Boot Camp and say, yeah,
we'll hang it up in here.
Thanks, brother.
We'll get it up on there, man.
So
that's great. Thanks for everything, man. And yeah, well, and you guys, you probably post that picture of us.
Yeah. Just send me the digital. I'll put it up.
We're young, man.
There's a photo of us.
We were young.
We did a show, so you guys will see that too. Back in the day when I had hair and he was still bald.
I was still bald.
Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Paradise Pump, and we will see you guys next time. Aloha.
Aloha.